At first, nothing happened. That was the most unsettling part. After Aaron Cole's death was ruled an accident, Juniper Drive went quiet in the way cases are supposed to. No press, no follow-ups, no lingering patrols. The house sat empty, waiting for demolition paperwork to clear. Officially, the story ended there. Unofficially, one person couldn't let it go. Detective Ryan Havel was not assigned to the case anymore. He wasn't even supposed to have access to the files. But on the night the evidence was boxed up, he copied one thing before the system locked him out. The audio, not the voicemail that made it into the report. The raw file. Because when Havel listened to it through studio headphones, alone, after midnight, he noticed something no one had mentioned. There were two breathing patterns. One belonged to Aaron, the other didn't. Havel replayed the file again and again, isolating channels, stripping noise, slowing it down. The second breathing pattern was faint, almost polite. It never overlapped Aaron's words. It waited, like it was listening. At 2:19 a.m., 2 minutes after the 911 call ended, there was a sound no one had logged. A soft shift. Not a step, not fabric, pressure, the kind you feel when someone stands too close behind you. Havel checked the metadata. The file wasn't recorded by the phone's microphone. It was recorded by the phone's internal motion sensor, which made no sense. He reached out to a former colleague in telecommunications. Off the record, no case number. The answer came back simple and deeply wrong. Phones don't record audio from motion sensors. They record proximity, distance, orientation in space. Whatever created that second signal wasn't speaking. It was occupying. Havel started digging into other cases that never quite fit. Not murders, not hauntings, reports that died quietly in databases. A woman in Oregon who claimed her apartment walls felt warm at night. A contractor in Nevada who heard breathing inside poured concrete. A 911 hang-up call in Utah, where dispatch logged background noise, but no voice, and later found the caller had died hours earlier in an unfinished stairwell. Different places, same detail, new construction. The pattern was subtle, but consistent. The buildings were always new. No crawl spaces, no attics, minimal voids, designed for efficiency, clean lines, tight margins, spaces where nothing was supposed to exist unless it was measured. Havel realized something uncomfortable. Older houses creak, settle, breathe. New ones don't. They trap pressure. He visited Juniper Drive one last time before demolition. The house was empty. Utilities cut. Silence thick enough to feel. Standing in the hallway, Havel closed his eyes and listened. At first, nothing. Then, very slowly, the air shifted. Not toward him, around him like the space was adjusting. He felt it behind the walls, not moving, waiting. That night, Havel dreamed of rooms without doors, of hallways that narrowed when he wasn't looking, of standing inside a wall and realizing the wall was standing inside him. He woke up at 2:17 a.m. to his phone vibrating on the nightstand. No call, just a notification. A voicemail. The file was 11 seconds long. No timestamp, no number, just breathing, two patterns. One of them sounded familiar. It took Havel a moment to understand why. It was his. He never reported the voicemail. Instead, he shut his phone off and placed it face down on the kitchen counter. That's when he noticed the wall, a faint outline in the paint, a pressure mark where none should be. Warm, just barely. Havel stepped back. The pressure stepped forward. By morning, he was gone. No signs of struggle, no forced entry. The official report would later read, sudden medical event, but the phone on his counter told a different story. At 2:17 a.m., it recorded proximity, distance collapsing, something learning where to stand. The Juniper Drive house was demolished 2 weeks later. The walls came down clean. Nothing was found. No marks, no cavities, just empty space where something had once been very careful not to be seen. If this were a ghost story, it would end there. If it were a crime, there would be suspects. But this was neither. It wasn't about who died. It was about where. Because the calls never stopped. They just changed addresses. And if you're listening closely enough, in a quiet room, late at night, you might notice the air adjusting around you, making space, learning your shape, waiting for the moment you stand still long enough to be remembered. The voicemail should not have existed. Havel knew that before he even finished listening to it. Phones did not generate proximity data on their own. They did not decide when to record. They did not wake themselves up at 2:17 a.m. to document the space around them. And yet when Havel powered the device back on, against every instinct he had, the log was still there. Proximity recorded. Duration, 11 seconds. Distance, collapsing. He tried to rationalize it, a sensor glitch, residual data, a corrupted process triggered by sleep mode, but every explanation failed the same test. None of them explained why the phone had registered something moving closer, or why the movement stopped exactly where Havel would have been standing. Over the next 2 days, Havel avoided enclosed spaces. He worked from cafes, he slept with lights on, he stopped using headphones entirely. In quiet rooms he noticed it most. The sensation wasn't sound, it was displacement, like the air adjusting itself, making room. On the 3rd night, Havel returned to Juniper Drive. The demolition fencing had already gone up, but no crews were scheduled until morning. He stood across the street and watched the house. No lights, no movement. And yet, the longer he looked, the more wrong it felt. As if the building was no longer empty, but unfinished. Inside, the hallway felt narrower than before. Not physically, perceptually. Havel paced it once, then again. Each time, he felt the same pressure behind his shoulders, as though something were aligning itself with his stride, matching him, learning. In the kitchen, his phone vibrated. No notification, no call, just a brief pulse. When he checked the screen, a single line of text appeared beneath the sensor data. Orientation locked. Havel dropped the phone. By the time the demolition crew arrived the next morning, the house was already quiet again. Too quiet. They would later report nothing unusual, no resistance in the walls, no unexpected voids, no signs that anything had ever been there. But in the weeks that followed, similar reports surfaced. Always new construction, always sealed spaces, always the same time window, 2:17 a.m., phones waking on their own, sensors activating, recording something that wasn't sound, wasn't motion, but presence. The pattern was no longer subtle, it was patient, and wherever space was designed to be efficient, minimal, perfectly measured, something was learning how to fit, not inside the walls, but inside the gaps people never think about, the ones that only exist when you stop moving.